Hi, okay, so let's talk a little bit about grounding, and let's talk first about why it's important, what it does. If you don't care at all about the why, then feel free to fast forward. But if the why is important to you to use a technique that I'm gonna fill you in a little bit, it's important for me because I tend not to use something unless I know exactly how it's working. And once I can, I guess, hear or understand what it does, then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I know why I should invest more time in doing that. This is the frontal lobe. This is the part responsible for being essentially an adult. This is the part that controls emotion regulation and maturity, impulse control, pretty much the part that kind of separates you from teenage you. Most days. This part, however, is the last part of our brain to develop. It really is not done forming until we're about 25, which is a little scary, but it really takes a little bit of time to come online. Oldest part of the brain, the beginning part of the brain, is the midbrain, literally right in the middle. We also call it the caveman brain, and it is all about literally survival. So fight or flight. It really manages a lot of intense emotions like anxiety and anger, things that are supposed to be internal warning systems. Like anger says, alert, somebody crossed your boundary. Anxiety says, oh, be alert, something is in your system that you should be afraid of. Now sometimes that's not always rational, but that's what the midbrain thinks. It thinks it's keeping you alive. That's part of why when you get in a cycle of anxiety and overwhelm and fear and anger and sadness, it kind of stays in that cycle because you've turned on the part of your brain that says, this is going to help me survive. And then it doesn't cut off because we don't tell the brain, okay, I don't need this anymore. I'm surviving. I'm okay. I don't need this fear, or not at this level. In order to turn off that midbrain portion that spikes or kind of stays active and turn on the frontal lobe that allows us to go into calm and impulse control and at least the middle level of I can fear something but do something about it or figure out what to do. So to turn off this part and to turn on this part, then we have to tell the brain that everything in our environment is safe. Again, because if this is the caveman brain, it is scanning our environment at all times to figure out what is a threat. So if I was a caveman, then the things in my environment that would be important for me to be aware of are all my senses. That's kind of what the senses are for. If I see something I need to run from, like a jungle cat or something, it alerts me that I see it, I can hear it maybe, I can hear sounds, tells me to run, tells me to escape. So in order to tell this part of the brain, everything's calm, tell this part of the brain, everything's cool, then we need to pretty much scan our environment. And we need to do it on a deep level so that it really reinforces to the midbrain, things are calm. Okay, we're fast forwarding and you're looking for the spot where we actually start with the technique. Here we are. So grounding is about the 5 senses. For most people, especially when they're really overwhelmed, I work and have worked for a long time with trauma. Military is what I mainly worked with, and sexual assault for a really long time. Now obviously infertility and loss. But most of the time when you're at the point where you notice you need grounding, you're spiking, and something's really triggered you, and for the most part you find your body kind of going into a protective ball, which makes sense, you're going into protection mode. And so most people are kind of down. So I tend to not start with sight because sight is very vulnerable, very overwhelming, and it makes you pull your head up. And that's scary to the brain. You don't want to pull up from protection. So we usually stay lower. So if we're not going to start with sight, usually what we want to start with is touch, because that also tells me things right near me are okay. So 2 things I want you to remember when you're grounding is, first, I want you to start with something that is simple for you, but also to do it in depth, okay? You're going to be doing it in your brain or out loud if you're open to it, as if you're describing it to somebody that is not in the room or somebody that's on the phone. So I'll give you an example. We're going to do an example for all of these. So let's say we're very overwhelmed, we're very triggered, we're very much in a hunched down position, then let's start with touch. And I'm gonna do this out loud, okay? So I'm going to describe it in deep detail, and I'm going to do comparison. Comparison tells my brain to turn this portion on because it's about logic and it's about evaluation. This part of the brain doesn't really care about that quite as much. It says this part of the brain is functional, use this part to make decisions, use this part to evaluate the environment, because I can go slow enough to even evaluate and measure and compare. Okay, so let's start with touch, start with temperature. That one's always easy. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, I'm gonna feel my shirt. Okay, it feels, it's not on my skin, so it is not warm compared to my inner shirt that feels warmer because it's been touching my skin. Not hot, it's not like lava, but I would say it's about skin temperature degree, and this is about 10 degrees cooler. So let's touch my couch. Definitely much colder. It's not freezing cold, but it's definitely cooler compared to my shirt. Let's do texture. I'm gonna feel my jeans here. They are rough, but it's a pleasurable rough. Is that a normal thing to say? It's got some tiny ridges where I can feel the fabric. Feels like canvas if you've ever felt canvas, but a softer form of canvas. I'm gonna compare it to my couch, which is an IKEA pleather couch. And it has a tiny bit of a texture too, but not much compared to my jeans. This is a much smoother surface. Let's compare the texture of my couch, which is fairly textured, to my shirt, which is cotton. This is a much softer brushed cotton. Now I'm rubbing my chest on video, so that's, that's happening right now. Okay. But anyway, this is a soft cotton, and I like the texture of this compared to this or this the most. And let's see if I can find anything else that I could maybe touch. We'll play with a card. This is a cold metal Jeep, and it is a smoothest surface out of all of them because it's metal compared to anything else. But I wouldn't want to sit here and hold this for a comfort feeling. So if I was in a location where I needed a ground, even if I'm in a business meeting, in the store, literally anywhere, you can start using grounding. So if I was somewhere where I wanted to use the most pleasurable touch, I would maybe just touch my shirt. Nobody knows what I'm doing. Nobody has a clue that I'm walking through the store. If you were see me below, I maybe would hold the bottom of my shirt. Nobody has to know that I'm touching it and feeling a pleasurable, calming, smooth cotton sensation. They wouldn't have a clue, okay? So that'd be touch, okay? So let's go next into maybe smell. You may not have anything around you in your environment that you can smell. If you're in a place where it's okay for you to go get something, go get some coffee. Even if you don't drink coffee, or if you have anything else that you can make, maybe some tea, go get coffee or tea. If you're in a place at all where you have 5 seconds to do that, it works with smell, which is super engaging. You can taste it. Even if you hate it, it's okay if you even hate it. It's a strong enough flavor, it's going to trigger your brain to allow you to start comparing. But drinks are a great way to manage anxiety. And I mean that kind of drink. It's a different discussion, different video. But hot tea, hot coffee are perfect. Cold works too, but hot, there's something calming about hot. So if you don't have any coffee near you, grab anything around you that you could maybe smell. Grab some lotion. Lotion is a fantastic secondary thing to do. Put the lotion on, rub it in as much as you can. You're also being tactile and feeling, and inhale and smell it. Now we're also doing deep breath. That's good for calming. But as much as you can smell and compare it. So if I were to smell, I just put on lotion a second ago. It is Bath and Body Works, and I don't think it's gardenia something. It's a flower, but it's a very sweet smell, but not a sickeningly sweet smell. It's a light smell, maybe similar to honeysuckle. That might be the closest smell that I would say. And so that's a nice soothing scent. And again, if I'm in my home or if I'm doing somewhere where I'm grounding, I've now done touch and I've described it. I'm going to describe that smell to myself. And remember, nobody cares if you're saying it out loud to them or if you're describing it internally about the actual thing you're describing. You're just going in depth to trigger the brain. So just keep going deeper and deeper. Don't worry about how ridiculous it might feel. So I'm smelling that honeysuckle smell. If you're smelling something that triggers a bad emotion, obviously switch to something else. If honeysuckle reminded me of something like my grandmother's farm where she died, do something else. But if you like that, then go with that. So we've done smell. Then we're going to do taste. If possible, you can just sit right where you are and taste. Do you taste anything you've had recently? Toothpaste, something you've had a drink of. But if you can grab something to eat or drink, even just water, go grab that. So I've got some tea. My tea is unsweet. It has, I like strong tea, but not too strong that it makes the back of your mouth pucker. So if I were going to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably maybe a 6.5. It's not a 7 or 8. It's not too strong, but it's strong enough that I like it, and I can drink it really fast. I could probably drink a gallon of tea a day. I'm a Southerner, but not a sweet tea Southern tea drinker, so I know, don't vote me off the island. So if you can even grab water and tea or water and coffee at the same time and compare the two, it's even better. But at that point, your brain may be starting to come online and go, oh, okay, everything's calm, we're comparing, things are good. But again, if you can grab that coffee, smell the coffee, taste the coffee, describe what it tastes like, hold it in your mouth for a minute and let it coat your mouth. You know, imagine you're doing a wine tasting. They do coffee tastings, that's the thing. I used to be a barista, that's a real thing. Okay, so now we've done texture and feeling, and I'm rubbing my jeans, texture and feeling, and as fabric and hot cold of touch. We've done some smell of coffee or lotion. Both of those are usually calming. By the way, smell is your strongest sense out of all the senses, so definitely pick something that's not going to trigger sadness or anger or anxiety. We've done taste. Now let's do hear for just a second. So if you're in a place where you can't listen to something, then just try to be calm for a second and listen, but count 3 things you can hear. You don't want to let your head just run. You don't want to just listen and 5 seconds later you're like, oh my God, be afraid of all the things. Don't do that. I want you to actively count 3 things you can hear, and if you can't, hum a song, count to 10, something. Don't just let your brain run, because at that point we're not in a place where we can let our thoughts just run, because we're being overwhelmed. That's a different thing that you can do later. So here, right now I can hear, I won't stop and listen, but if you were in front of me I'd have you listen. But I can hear the air conditioner. I can hear my watch ticking. You can't hear it, but I can. It is not a really loud sound, but I can hear it when things are quiet for about 2 seconds. And I can hear the computer right next to me. The fan on it is running. Okay, so 3 things. Move on if you can. Last one is sight. We're always going to start low and go up, and we're almost always going to count because that helps the brain evaluate. So I'm going to start low. At my house, I would maybe count things I could see on the floor, which is a million things. If you were in the store, I'd have you maybe count tiles. If you were at work, I would have you count, in a meeting maybe, count shoes, count the number of shoes you see. If you are locking yourself in the bathroom to get away from everybody in your family because you're just super overwhelmed, literally find things in there that are of comparison that you can begin counting. If you can't count low, then try to begin comparing colors. So what's the color on the wall compared to the carpet? So I've got a beige tan colored wall. It's not too beige that I'd call it. It's like a sand color. Maybe that's a good color. If I were to compare it to my carpet, you can't see, but it's a brown. It's not a dark brown, but it's a darker brown compared to my walls. So if you can't count things, compare colors when you're doing sight. And then you're going to move from down below to the middle. We're going to skip the middle because middle is eyesight, and that's sometimes a little too overwhelming, so go high. So what are things you can count high? Can you count light fixtures? Can you count light switches? Can you count a number of heads? Don't look at eyes, but go higher. Can you count things on the wall? Can you count, if you have tiles on the ceiling, count number of tiles. If you're in a store, count the number of signs you can see. Really anything that you can begin counting. And then if you can come down to the middle, finally, that's usually where you're calm. If you're not ready, if there's people around you, if you're not ready to make eye contact, you're not ready. You need to start over grounding. Eye contact indicates to other people that things are safe and you're ready to be engaged. And your brain is calm. But if you're not ready to make eye contact, then you need to start back over with one of the senses again, which is totally normal. It's totally okay. It takes a minute for the brain to hear that, everything is okay. So once you're at this level, if you feel still jittery, start over, okay? Now that's just one technique. There's multiple that you can try. That's just kind of one beginning one for you to get started. And if you need more, let me know. Leave some comments below and we can maybe walk through some issues that you might have and maybe go through some other troubleshooting options. All right, hopefully grounding helps. Let me know if you need anything at all. All right, bye.